Hello, son. It's been a while. Dad?
People can change. As we saw in the most recent episode of Invincible, Omni-Man was like he was the most devastating creature in the entire world. He was supposed to take over Earth. He's supposed to take over everyone and everything, and yet he spent a lot of time reflecting. He spent a lot of time alone. He spent a lot of time out in space. He spent a lot of time trying to figure out why he was feeling the way that he was, because Voltrons, wow, his breed of people are not supposed to feel weakness or compassion towards others. They're just supposed to be conquerors of worlds and bring everybody into their empire, which is sad to see, but it's also true, because it's like the strongest of the strong are the ones who survive. And that's why being able to see Omni-Man again introduce his son Mark and have Mark come back to him was a really gratifying feeling, because from the video that I did on day 16, Omni-Man was killing his son. He was killing Mark. He was like, you should not be weak. You cannot be weak. And yet Mark was the one who showed his dad that it was okay to show weakness, that it was okay if we weren't the conquerors of the world. And I was like, wow, that is really incredible. And that's why it really does only take one person. It only takes one person to change your entire worldview and help you get back up on your feet. Just as I talked about in day 17. Sometimes having an open hand from somebody that you may not want to be seen is going to give you a lot of mixed feelings. Like Mark, he very well could have fought his dad. He very well could have punched him back in the face. He very well could have been very angry at him, which he was, and justifiably. It's just his first reaction was to give him a hug and be like, wow, I missed you. And then he's like, I'm still upset at you. And that's something that I've come to realize, is we can have both of those emotions. We can love somebody and we can hate somebody. We can be angry and we can be happy to see them at the exact same time. It's weird how that works. It's just part of the process. And that's why, in order for me to change from what I did in my life, was I was able to spend a lot of time out in the desert. I spent a lot of time all by myself. I spent time meditating, reflecting, reading, listening to podcasts, journaling, and just going on hikes and walks and bike rides, and just talking to myself and listening to myself back on these recordings and editing them and being like, okay, how can I make this better? Or studying people, asking questions, and trying to figure out the best way to go about that, which it really did help me in the long run, because I wouldn't be in the place as where I am right now if I hadn't done those things. And it was all because there was an inner part of me that decided to extend a hand out to myself, be like, hey, I'm sorry that I was a dick to you in the past. I'm sorry that I made some mistakes, and I'm going to own up to them. And that's why most of the time, from what I've been able to see, we aren't the same people that we were yesterday. Most people I hang around, at least, are people that are growing, they're evolving, and they're changing. I have surrounded myself with people in the past that weren't doing such things, where they weren't moving forward, they weren't making those progress-seen steps in the ways that I wanted to, and that's perfectly okay, because everybody lives their own life. It's just when that was happening, some of those people, I'd come back into their life, and they'd be like, wow, okay, you aren't the same person. At least that was the vibe that I would get when I was in the room with them. And it's like, that's not the case by any means at all. It's more of, I'm here to do what I'm here to do, and you're here to do what you're here to do. And I'm always growing. I'm always self-reflecting. I'm always having different experiences, conversations, and or strategies or talks with other people that are around me. And that's why I have come to realize that, like, I can't be somebody that gets upset if somebody says something about me, because it's like they don't know all the things that I've gone through. Like Omni-Man, Mark can be incredibly upset at his dad for leaving Earth and marrying this bug woman and having this whole new relationship and having a baby when he was supposed to be there on Earth protecting him and his mom, and they were supposed to be a happy family. And I can understand the resentment and anger Mark feels towards his dad, because I felt the same way towards my father as well for an extended period of time. He continued to try. He wanted to bring me back into his life, and by doing so, we were able to reconnect and reconvene and be good father and son again, which is a crazy thing to see. And that's why, like, Mark can be upset at Omni-Man and be like, no, you're still a dick. Like, you haven't changed. You haven't gone through any of this. And yet what Omni-Man did was he spent days, if not months, out in space, just floating, just wandering around. He was even going to go into a black hole, because he's like, I don't want to live anymore. And that was the only way he knew that he could, like, end his life, was by going into the black hole. And he did that because he was just, it's what he felt was the right thing to do. And then this is a crazy thing about life, you guys, and this is where I might lose some people, and I might also keep some people in check or give you a different perspective they might not have seen. the bug ship, the ship that was going into the black hole at the time, that ship was there because it wasn't Nolan's time to go. Everybody in our life, they will go when they're supposed to go because they will have completed their dharma, their karma, and or their life purpose at that point in time. So it's just they're no longer meant to be here because they did what they were supposed to do. And that's the sad part, and that's why death is something that just comes to all of us. But like Omni-Man, it wasn't his time to die, so that's why the bugs came into his reality, because it was to show him that, hey, you know what, these weak creatures, these weak inferior creatures in his eyes at least, and their culture, like that could just be squished with like a flick or a punch or like a poke of a finger type of thing. They came into his reality to show like, hey, you don't have to be the strong, overbearing person that doesn't want to help or connect other people or breed with like inferior creatures or inferior species, when it's just like, no, they are just like you and I. They feel things. We feel things. They have emotions. They look at each other and it's just like, wow, okay. And this all came because Omni-Man was able to spend time alone. He was able to spend time out in space, wandering around, looking at everything that he had in his world, which helped him come to the realization that, hey, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, we are looking at things in the wrong way. And if we are looking at things in the wrong way, then maybe the way that I do feel is justifiable, because his species had never cried before, and yet we see Omni-Man cry throughout the series because he was feeling emotions. Emotions he thought was a weakness. And it's just like you had to fight to the death pretty much with everything. It's like, well, what if emotions make us stronger? What if emotions make us more capable and more willing to share the things that are paining us, that are helping us in, well, helping or hindering us in our life? And if that's the case, then where would we go from here? I hope you guys liked this video. If you do and you've kept up with the series up at this point in time, why aren't you subscribed yet? Like, I mean, you've already made it 21 days at this point in time, so you might as well click that subscribe button if you have made it here. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.